Thank you. So this is usually what we follow, guys. Here we go. First time I'm using this guy too. I'll put the computer right. Okay, so now for some trivia. Which is true? Let's think a little bit.
They're all true, I think.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anybody? What do we guess?
A.
Yes, A? Anyone else?
C.
C? Okay, it looks like we're kind of mixed there. Kind of mixed. Ready? Dun-dun-dun. And we've got, come on. Oh, okay, it's a little bit light here. Yeah, maybe that's good. Come on, remote. There we go. This one is correct. You can see here, action 1810, 1804. Now, maybe we'll never forget, right? Maybe. I'll ask you in a year, see if you can still remember. Oh, yes, we done said it's not light. Okay, so, thank you. So today we're going to be talking about truth, okay? So a visit from truth, which is actually from another book, this book, Jesus in the Home, which is psychographed by Chico Xavier, and it's actually chapter 25, called A Visit from Truth. So we're talking about truth tonight. Okay, the truth will set us free, or you or me, all the same here. Sorry about my head. What do we understand this to mean? Who has heard this before? Pretty common phrase, right?
Yeah.
What do we understand truth to mean? Any takers? Just go ahead and say it out loud.
Conscious.
Truth means what?
Clean conscious.
Clean conscious. Okay, what else? Just throw it out there.
Come on, people.
Come on, people. This is interactive. My lectures are interactive. What?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Just whatever you think, guys. Sorry, you know, one here. Okay, so I'll tell you. This book, Jesus says it is complete, divine. Anyone want to finish? Light. But now, what is complete divine light? Any takers? Clarity, very good. I like that one. Anyone? Quiet crowd tonight, okay. Divine love. So it's complete, let me see, complete awareness or consciousness, awareness of, one, God's laws, which can be both moral and physical, and also complete awareness of ourselves. So not only knowing the laws, but also follow them, right? That's also important. It doesn't matter if you just know them. So this is what we understand to be complete divine light, knowing God's laws and following them, and also knowing ourselves. So now over here, free. What does freedom mean? A little bit easier? Not easier? Quiet tonight. Come on, freedom.
Totally happy.
What?
Happy.
Happy, very good, very good. That's someone right here. That's someone right. So,
Free will.
free will. So, look, complete happiness and a clear conscience that we are fulfilling our duty to ourselves and to God. We are happy because we have a clear conscience. Because why? Because we're fulfilling that duty that we were meant to do for ourselves and also to God. So this is what we're talking about tonight. These two kinds of truths. And also opening this truth into our life is going to help us open the door to our freedom, which is our happiness, which we all want, right? Who wants happiness? We're all looking for happiness, right? Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Complete divine light, right? Check. Let's remember that. Complete divine light. First, I'm going to be talking in 3 different ways, okay? So first, a visit from truth, which is actually a parable from this nice book right here. And then I'm going to talk about what we understand truth to be, zooming in a little bit more so we can understand it a little bit more. And lastly, letting truth in, how we can let the truth into our lives so we can what? Be happier. Yeah, okay. Pointing towards the computer. So this is the parable actually in this book. It is Peter asked Jesus what truth meant, and Jesus explained it in this parable. So there was a man, you can't see, but this is a cave. Okay, so there was this man who lived in a deep, dark cave, and no light ever touched there. He complained about his life. He complained that it was stinky. He complained that everything in his life was really bad. Though he claimed that he was a very capable and strong man, he thought he was better than everybody else. He prayed and prayed and prayed to God for all his blessings so he can get out of this situation. And so what did God do? Him being very compassionate and very loving, sent him, who can see? F?
Faith.
Sent him the virtue faith. And when faith went to this man, this virtue invited him to trust in the future and to persist in prayer. And this helped the man a little bit, but not for long, because then he went right back to complaining. And then our compassionate and loving Father sent him a second virtue, hope. And hope invited him to have strength and resignation and to be calm. And this would help him, get over his troubles a little bit. And it helped him, it consoled him for a little while, but not for long. He went right back to complaining. And then God sent him another virtue, charity. And charity was like an unselfish mother that fed him and that caressed him, and it made him feel better. For how long? Not too long. And then he complained again. And then what did God do? God, again, our compassionate and loving Father, sent him truth. And truth went into his cave, and it was like a huge light. And this man saw himself for what he really was. He had all these sores all over his body, and he was able to recognize that, wow, this situation that I'm in, I'm the one who's causing it. And he was so horrified. And then truth invited him to open the door of freedom. All he had to do was purify himself to get better, and then he would be able to go through that door of freedom. What do you think the man did? Oh, yes, let me go through that door. It's very easy. Is it easy? No, it's not. It was very hard. He saw all of these things that were on his body and that he was causing this, and instead of choosing to go through the door of freedom to be happy, to purify himself, to help some of the vices that he had in himself, he chose to run away to another cave. Again, right? End of story. So that's kind of like us. Where's my little word there? No. Sorry, first time control here. There we go. So does this guy remind us of anyone? Ourselves, right? So it's not so easy to do this work of purifying ourselves, is it? Imagine looking into the mirror and seeing all of your vices and all of your failures and all of your faults. We would also be pretty horrified and pretty scared. So that's how he felt. But again, if we were to purify ourselves and if we were to take that path, that is the path that we need to take to what? To go to freedom and to be happy. Okay. How baby. Next. Okay. Salad for lunch. We all know this guy. So when thinking about this lecture, I thought of, when you go maybe out to lunch with someone and then you have some spinach in your teeth, embarrassing, right? You have something stuck in your teeth and you go through the whole lunch with that in your teeth and you don't know it's there. And then maybe afterwards you go to the restroom and you look in the mirror and you see it there and you feel horrified and like, oh, wow, I can't believe that was there the whole time. So that's kind of like the truth, right? The truth is us looking into the mirror and we have this spinach in our teeth as we go through our day-to-day lives. Everyone else sees the spinach in our teeth, but we don't see it because we don't look at ourselves in the mirror necessarily. And then even worse, imagine you're leaving the bathroom and you got some toilet paper on your shoe. So you have spinach, you have toilet paper, and this is how, everyone sees you. You have all these defects about you, but if you don't look into the mirror, how are you going to go and floss? How are you going to take it off of your shoe if you don't look into the mirror? Right? Understand? Yes? Mm-hmm. Would we look straight into the sun? Why not? What? It's too bright. We would get blind, right? So the same thing here with the mirror or this light of truth. It's not for us to look into the mirror and see these thousands and millions of vices that we have. That would be very blinding. but instead it's inviting us to look at them one at a time, because after all, that's how we're going to get to happiness, is looking at things one at a time. It's not expected for us to look at everything and be super overwhelmed like that man was to be able to fix everything. So again, it's always one step at a time. Okay, so now we're going to go into the what. So we're going to kind of delve into what we understand truth to be, so we can understand a little bit more about it for us to be able to apply it to our lives. And so first, definition-wise, what is truth? How is it that so many philosophers, both ancient and modern, have so long been discussing psychological questions without having arrived at the truth? What do you think? People have been, analyzing and studying truth for so long, but yet we haven't seemed to arrive at knowing what it is exactly. Why is that? That's very good. That's very good. Also, let's see the answer here. Wow. Okay. They often mistook their own ideas for true light. So at this point of evolution that we're at right now, we do not know complete truth. It's not possible for us to know complete truth. It's something beyond us. And so that's why we haven't arrived at it yet, because we're not at that stage. But it's interesting to know that ever since ancient times, people have been interested in knowing truth, interested in searching out what it is. That means that we all have this drive to find out what truth is, because we know deep down inside that that's what's going to bring us to happiness. Socrates, he described truth as a wondering that is divine. I really like this. It's really gives you a good image. So we're wandering along our path of life, and we are searching for the truth, looking for what truth is. And as we get closer and closer to the truth on this pathway, we are getting closer to God, right? Because the closer we get to knowing what God is and what his law is, and following them, we are getting closer to him. So it's a very wondering that is divine, right? And then we have Thoreau says, rather than romance, than money, than fame, give me truth. So even he recognized the value, the importance of truth. Truth is very everlasting. It's something that once you have it. Not like these first three that are very temporary and very materialistic. So again, truth is something that's going to stay with you. Your romance, your love is not necessarily going to be with you, because it's very materialistic. It's for us to remember truth is eternal once we have that. In Hinduism, truth is defined as unchangeable, that which has no distortion, that which is beyond distinctions of time, space, and person, that which pervades the universe in all its constancy. This reminds me of God, right? God is also unchangeable and constant, just like truth. Because why? Because truth is a law of God. So that's why it is unchanging. We haven't necessarily reached it yet, I know what it is yet, but it's still constant and unchanging. So again, what the two truths that we're talking about here are God's truths, which is his moral laws, his physical laws. It's for us to get to know these laws and for us to put them into our lives. And when we put these laws into our lives, we're going to be able to what? Open the door to freedom, which is us being happy. Having that clear conscience that, okay, I know that I'm doing my duty, I'm fulfilling my duty to myself and to God. So you have this clear conscience and you know that you're doing what you need to be doing, what's right. And that really gives you this feeling of bliss, of happiness. Just what Jay said, right? We have perceptions now. Do we understand truth to be the same thing? Don't you think that all of us have a very different perception of what truth is? So that's something for us to think about too when we're thinking about truth. There is this parable called 6 Blind Men and an Elephant. And for this, I would like 6 volunteers to stand up. Don't worry, it's very easy. Just 6 people to represent these 6 blind men. 1, 2. Come on, blind men. There we go. Brave people. It's very easy. It's very easy. 3 more, 2 more. Come on. There we go. We got 6. Okay, very good. Don't worry. Nothing hard. Nothing hard. Okay. So there were these 6 blind men who had never encountered, yeah, exactly, close your eyes. You don't need to close your eyes. They're really good. Feel the moment. Okay, 6 blind men who had never encountered an elephant before. And then there was an elephant that came into their village. And so they decided that they were going to go and get this elephant and touch it and describe it so they can understand more of what an elephant is. But they're all blind, right? So each person touches a different part of the elephant's body, okay? I think we already had 6.
Oh, okay,
Sorry. Yeah, you don't need to. Come on. No, sir, you. Yes, okay? You're the first blind man. So the first blind man touched the elephant's trunk. And he described it in one word. How would you describe an elephant's trunk? One word. It's like a... Who can help?
A pipe.
Like a pipe. Okay, very good. You may sit down, blind man. Very good. So you think it's like a pipe. Blind man number 2, okay, touched the elephant's tusk and described it as one word, like? An arc. Very good. You may sit. And the third blind man touched the elephant's ears, described in one word as? Fluffy. Sit. Thank you. And the fourth blind man touched the elephant's body, his like back and his side, and described it as? Fluffy. Very good. The fifth blind man touched the elephant's leg, his big leg. What do you think he described it as? Chubby. Very good. And the sixth blind man touched the elephant's tail. Described it as?
I don't know.
Hairy, curly. Very good. Okay, very good. You may sit. So the point is that they all touch the same thing, but they all have different perceptions, okay? So they all felt that in their experience, they touched the elephant and they're very sure that this thing is this because they felt it. They feel very sure about it. So, but they were all wrong, right? So this is also how truth is. We have so many different perceptions that it's hard to really know what truth is. And we have a little drawing here of some examples of what it could have been. The ear is a fan, the tusk is a spear, the trunk is a snake, the leg is a tree, the back is a wall, and the tail is a rope, for example. But the point is they all had a different perception. Okay, and this is what they call an NLP, neuro-linguistic program. And who has heard of this? Tony Robbins, anyone? This is what they call the model of the world, which means that we all have different perceptions based on what? Based on our past, based on our experiences, our feelings, our likes, our dislikes. We all have like our own little kaleidoscope of the world, and it's all different based on our experience. So that's why it's hard to really arrive at the truth too, because we all think it's something different. Everyone interprets. Here we go. I like my different clicks, guys, but so that you only see what I'm doing one thing at a time. Everyone interprets the world according to his own imaginings. Just what we said, right? And there was this bus that doesn't want to come up in Rio. There we go, 438 in Rio. Who knows this bus? Okay, there we go. So I swear the bus was red. And my husband Ricardo swears the bus was orange. Okay, it's that color that's kind of like in between, okay? You don't know what it is. So this is the perception too. I think it's red, he thinks it's orange, and there he is right there. So it was a very long discussion all the time. It's red, that red bus. And he doesn't know what I'm talking about. The red bus, no, the orange bus. So, and again, perception.
It's red.
That's what? It's red. Thank you, 1 point for me. Truth is not popular belief. So just because 90% of the world believes something doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth. Didn't we used to think that the world was flat? Everyone thought the world was flat, and now it's round. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow it's square. We don't know these things. So again, it doesn't mean that because everyone believes it's true. Also, example, I love it when there's so many best something. I don't know, the best donut shop in San Jose, and there's like 5 of them. How are you supposed to know which one is best? Or also books, right? I have my baby. How many books are there out there? Oh, this is the best way to raise a baby. This is the best way to have your baby sleep. So all these different doctors have all these different opinions and perceptions of what truth is, and they all are really just like the elephant. I know that this is true. Please listen to me. So it's kind of hard. And also my favorite is what about the diets? Yes, gluten-free, carb-free, sugar-free, meat-free, all these things. And it's like, how are you supposed to know what the best diet is? It's kind of a really hard thing, right? And then I have this video here. Who has seen The Labyrinth? Who knows what that is? With David Bowie. Anyone? From 1986. This was like my favorite movie when I was a kid. I watched it like 12 times. So she's in a labyrinth and she's trying to get herself out. And so I thought this little scene of 2 minutes here was interesting because it has a little part in it about truth. So let's look at that. It's kind of low, sorry.
Someone has been changing my marks. What a horrible place this is. It's not fair.
That's right. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
That's only half of it.
This was a dead end a minute ago.
No, that's the dead end behind you.
Okay. It's a dead end. She's like, what? I can't. This is just a dead end. Which way do I go?
What am I supposed to do?
What am I supposed to
The
do?
only way out of here is to try one of these doors.
The only way out is to try one of the
One leads
doors.
to the castle at the center of the labyrinth, and the other one leads to certain.
One way is the way out and one way is not the right way.
Which one is which?
Which one's which?
We can't tell you.
We can't tell you.
Why not?
We don't know.
They
But
don't know.
they do.
Oh, then I'll ask them.
No, you can't ask us. You can only ask one of us.
You can't ask us. You can only ask one of us. Which is the right door?
One of us always tells the truth, and one of us always
One of us always tells the truth and one of us always lies.
He always lies. I do not. I tell the truth.
He always lies. No, I do. No.
All right. Answer yes or no.
Answer yes or no.
Would he tell me that this door leads to the castle?
Would he tell me that this door leads to the castle?
Yes.
Yes.
Then the other door leads to the castle, and this door
Then
leads
the other
to
door
certain
leads to the
death.
castle and this door leads to certain death. So anyway, she's trying to do this logic here based on
But then you would be.
truth.
So if you told me that he said yes, I know the answer is no.
But I'd be telling the truth.
But then he would be lying.
Anyway, so she goes on saying, if you would be telling the truth, then he would be lying. No, but if you're lying, then he'd be telling the truth. So she does all this logic here, and it just brings us to the point that there is so much perception, so much truth out there that we get so lost and so entangled. And she's also trying to find kind of a door to freedom. And she has all this like information going on, all these perceptions. It's like, how is she supposed to find the right door to the truth? So it's kind of like us. How are we supposed to find the right door when there's just so much truth out there? So much opinion.
So if you told me that he
No.
said yes, I know the answer would still be no.
Wait a minute. Is that right? I don't know. I've never understood.
Someone want to help me out here? Let's see it.
No, it's right. I figured it out. I can never do it before.
No, I thought it was supposed to be the
I think
computer.
I'm getting smarter. It's a piece of cake.
Yes. Think about truth, people, as we have these. So next, I believe I'm talking about access to truth. So nowadays, we have so much access to the internet and so much access to information, right? That now more than ever, we are confused by this information, actually. And again, so we have so much access to information, we can go and ask Siri anything that we want, right? Let me see. Let me have my volume up here. Siri, how many galaxies are there?
The answer is 2 trillion.
So she says there are 2 trillion galaxies, but we all know that this is just like now, this is just temporary because there's so many galaxies and planets out there that we don't even know about yet. So this is just a temporary right now truth. So again, this is not absolute truth. And we also have fake news out there. So we also have to always be filtering out the information that we receive so that way we can try our best to follow what is right and what is true. But there's just so much information out there for us to, really have that challenge of finding what the truth is. Why has not the truth been always placed within reach of everyone? Each thing can only come in its time. Truth is like light. You must be accustomed to it gradually, otherwise it only dazzles you. So just like the sun, right? We can't look right into the sun because it's too strong, it's too powerful. So we also cannot have direct access to all this truth because we're not ready for it. We're not at that level, that stage of evolution yet. As we always have the example of the baby is not going to go to college. It doesn't make sense. We're also not there yet. But we're going to get there slowly, right? One step at a time. The spinach, the toilet paper, okay? Look in the mirror. Seek and ye shall find. Let me find you back. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. So whenever we want to open that door of freedom, it's always there for us. It's always available. All we have to do is knock. How do we knock? We ask our spiritual guides. We ask Jesus. We go and look for the mirror. Hey, mirror me on the wall, right? What's the next truth that I need to look at myself about? What do I need to perfect myself on? What's going on in my life that keeps causing me trouble? So always knock. It's always there for you. It never leaves. It's always there for you. Who washes their hands after they go to the restroom? Hope everybody, otherwise I'm going to come and give you a ticket, okay? Who washes their hands after they cut raw chicken? For dinner, okay? Because it's raw chicken, right? So you have some bacteria, you want to wash your hands. And then lastly, whoever has kids who washes their hands or at least sanitize, after you change your baby's diaper. All that poopy stuff, right? So thanks to this guy here, we wash our hands. His name is Ignaz. Let me see in German, Smigel. Semmelweis, okay? So he's a Hungarian physician in the 1840s. He had a clinic that was for labor and delivery, and he noticed that he had a 10% death rate for women who were in, it was called childbed fever, which was after birth, they would die. So 10% of these people would die. And he noticed that his neighboring clinic only had a 4% death rate. So he really wanted to improve this, so he went to go and analyze what's different between mine and his. The only thing was a teaching school. That was the only thing that was different. So his doctors would go from delivering babies to go into the morgue and kind of, examining these dead bodies. So then he had this crazy idea, well, let me have my doctors wash their hands. So he had them have, I think it was a chlorinated lime solution to wash their hands. And the doctors kind of were like, why do we have to do this? They're a little bit skeptical, but they had to do it, right? Because they were in his clinic. And then he saw that there was a really big improvement. So he went and showed this proof, all of the women are not dying as much anymore. He went to go and show this proof, not only to his neighboring clinic, but to all the doctors in the area. And they thought he was crazy. They mocked him. They said, we're not doing that. We're doctors. Our hands are pure. We don't need to clean our hands. Okay, and it went on like this for decades. Can you imagine how many women died because these men didn't want to accept this truth that was so bluntly in front of them? And so many women died because of this. So many times there's truth in front of us, but we don't decide to look at it, to do anything about it, just like the guy in the cave, right? So sometimes truth is really important, right? Washing our hands. Thanks to this guy, we wash our hands now. So now the how do we let truth into our lives, okay? Let into our lives, why? Not why, but how? Knowing God's laws, applying them, and also knowing more about ourselves so we can open the door to happiness. Knowing ourselves. Know thyself. Endeavor also to learn what is thought of it by others, and do not overlook the opinion of your enemies, for they have no interest in disguising the truth. And God often places them beside you as a mirror to warn you more frankly than would be done by a friend. So we all know this. Our enemies are going to be very frank with us. Hey, you're doing this. Hey, criticizing me like this. And we have to always realize that even though it may be mean or we may not like it, hurts our feelings, that there's usually some kind of truth in that, right? Especially if more than one person says that. So for us to always analyze, if this person is saying this, maybe something there is true. Let me kind of, alter what I'm doing here to maybe make that a little bit better. How else can we let truth into our lives? Develop virtues. You will gradually get rid of your prejudices, your ambition, and all of your absurd notions as you come to understand the truth of things. So 3 virtues that the book in the parable invited us to kind of develop were faith, hope, and charity. Okay, so faith first invited him to what? To look towards the future and to persist in prayer, because this is going to help us overcome some of our difficult problems. Always pray, right? Prayer is very good for us. Hope invited him to have strength, resignation, and calmness. Again, these things are going to help us with our difficult situations. And lastly, charity. Remember, it was the selfish mother who went selfless, mother who went and helped him and fed him and caressed him. So pretty much teaching us love and kindness are also always going to help us. And again, why did the guy, just because they went and visited him, he didn't have these virtues? Why? Because he didn't actually have these virtues inside of himself. They just visited him. So until he actually develops these virtues, these things are not going to permanently console him, okay? And lastly, follow our guides. You say that I am king. Jesus answered, for this reason I was born and have come into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. Anyone know who he's saying this to? You know, Pilate. Anyone Pilate? Okay, go look it up. So again, if we are lost, if we are unsure, we always have Jesus. Follow his guidance, ask for his help. What would he do in my situation? And we also have our spiritual guides as well. So reviewing tonight again, to arrive at the truth, what? We need to learn and study God's laws, both moral and physical, and also apply them into our lives. And also to have this freedom, to get the freedom, this is going to give us that happiness because our conscience is clear. I know that I'm doing my duty. I know I'm doing my duty to myself and to God, and this makes me happy. And then we went to the what. We went to talk about the definitions and how this has always been something talked about even in ancient times, which shows how important and how it attracts us to know more about the truth. And then we also talked about the perceptions. Truth is not necessarily what we perceive it to be. And that nowadays we have so much access to information that kind of gets confusing. We really need to filter out what is true and what is not. And lastly, how are we letting that into our lives? We are, number one, knowing ourselves. And how do we do that? Following these virtues, developing these virtues. And lastly, to ask for help from our guidance, from our spiritual guides, and also from Jesus. This is how we're going to follow along into this pathway of freedom to open that door that we really want to open. Concluding, you only need 10 feet of light ahead of you to drive from California to New York. So let's say the freeway has no lights, at all. All you have are your headlights. You're going to be able to get from California to New York one step at a time, which is exactly what the book is proposing us to do, to look at one of our faults one step at a time, and then we will get there eventually. It's not to get it all, all at the same time, because it's too overwhelming. We're going to go run to a dark cave. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Whenever we're doubtful, go look back to Jesus. The truth will set you free. And that's it. References. Jesus in our home, which again, you can find this parable about the man in the cave, chapter 25. The Spirit's book, Gospel According to Spiritism, Our Daily Bread, and Psychology Today. If you have any questions, come talk to me after. We're going to Passy, and again, for people who are new, Passy is just a transfer of energy. You just sit there in prayer, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But let's please remain silent so we can remain in prayer during this time.